Welcome to my budget deck channel where I try to make decks as cheap and playable as possible. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then why not subscribe? Since this list of decks to play in the festival that are cheap really picked off the last time, I thought why not do it again. This time use some of the decks that I already have on my channel anyway. Sometimes you have to alter them a little bit because there's no hand traps, well not many that is at least. So rejoice, you can play lots of different decks now till there's a meta anyway and you still get destroyed. But lots of the newer decks aren't really in here because they're hampered in some kind of way. And I want to show at least 5 decks in this specific video. I might make a second one if the first one is received well. So click that like button if you want to see even more decks you could be playing. And let's start right off with this one. This is Dark Magician, basically just the structure deck. You only need 3 structure decks and not even that many. Technically, you only need 2 structure decks plus 2 single cards, which is this one and this one. Other than that, I think you would be fine with running just 2 of the structure decks and some random rare cards and some random normal cards. I'll just quickly go through all of the cards so you know what I'm talking about. We have the Magician's Rod, we have Manju in here to make up for the fact that we have to run less of this and less of this, so we can put in some more normal summons now, and I thought maybe go more for this then. And since we run less spellcasters, I just cut the Chocolate Magician Girl down to 1 because it doesn't come up that often, although in a format that might be more grindy than the other ones, this might become in very handy because you can stall a bit longer with it and your opponent might not have the right card to deal with this card's effect as well. So we then have lots of one-offs, lots of two-offs because they hamper the deck a bit. I decided to whip in a third Magician Salvation because we only have 2 of this now, so maybe more ways to get into your Eternal Soul, maybe more ways to stall out your opponent a little bit could be good. Plus, see, we have more ways now to search Illusion of Chaos, which gives us more ways to search Magician Souls, and with Magician Souls we can easily get this card on board, and then we can send cards from the field to the graveyard, and that can be quite nice to draw some more cards, and consistency is key with this deck, so I felt like maybe that makes sense to have another card on deck that gives you an extra ability to draw off of Magician Souls. Then we have triple Forbidden Chalice, we have 1 Dark Burning Magic, mainly for the bond between teacher and student. We have Soul Servant at 3 because this card is still in some way consistency because we have more ways of getting into Magician Soul again, and then we can go into Dark Magician, and then we can search out any card in the deck that we want. We have Secrets of Dark Magic, we have Dark Renewal at 1 because that helps us get rid of some pesky stuff the opponent might be playing, and also get into Dark Magician, which is very important for this deck, would have thought. Torrential Tribute just to, well, slow the game down a bit. You have lots of recurring plays, especially things like Eternal Soul, so a Torrential Tribute doesn't harm you all that much. And Lost Wind, another card that is very good in the stall game, and they all trigger the effects of the Dark Magicians as well, so that's quite nice. And even if it gets destroyed by Torrential Tribute, then you can just summon a Dark Magician and a Dark Magician Girl. And last but not least, 1 Magician's Combination, a card you can cut if you want to, but I wanted to have it in here for the real legend Anthology experience. For the extra deck, 2 of this, 1 of this, although we don't need it, 1 of this can be nice, 2 or 3 of this, 2 or 3 of this. We want Imduck in here because that is a way to send Dark Magician to the graveyard, and some random Xyz, that random link cards that don't really work all that well because usually you don't have that many effect monsters, so like this isn't too great, this isn't too great, this isn't too easy to go into, then you can basically play any kind of link monster that you want. It doesn't overly matter. So this, I would say, is a deck that will get solid results. It's not going to be amazing. It's the same as its position that Dark Magician is in general. It's not a bad deck by any means, but it's also not going to be the format warping deck of this event. So yes, enjoy it if you already have it. It will net you some wins, but it lacks a bit of consistency. But with your opponent playing less things like Effect Veilers, Ash Blossoms, Impermanencies, possibly you might be getting off certain combos more often than you otherwise would have. So there is that. Obviously not too great going second, especially without hand traps, so the second builds will struggle a lot more without certain kaijus and certain other cards. Let's move on to the next deck, shall we? And the next deck, to my surprise, completely playable, I guess because it is an anime deck, so there's that, is the new support of Abyss Actors. Is completely playable. This is the exact list that I promote on my channel besides Enemy Controller. Don't take this too serious. I thought this card can be good going first, can be good going second, because you lack certain strong go second cards and you lack certain strong go first cards, and this kind of finds a way around this a little bit because On a budget, usually stick to things like Forbidden Chalice or Book of Moon, but if you go the whole go first variant, then you would run some trap cards, but you don't really have the space to set that many trap cards. And if you go second, you kind of wanted kaijus, you wanted things like Lava Golem even, you wanted crazy go second cards, but lots of them are also neither budget nor are they accessible in this specific event. So I thought, let's put in a card that does kind of both and helps you with OTKing a little bit, because this deck doesn't have a problem with putting monsters on board, but it does have a problem getting around certain monsters of your opponent, beating over them. It doesn't have much of an issue getting rid of them, but sometimes this can help you, although it targets, so it's not always the best one, but it can facilitate OTKs as well and can stall out certain turns as well. And you will almost always end up with some monster on board that you do not want to use or can't use, and then this card really makes sense to me, but you can obviously play whatever you want. So if you're interested in the exact list of this deck, then just cut out all the hand traps from the other one and check out my channel. I will put it in the description. So there's that, and let's move on to the next one. One quick thing, this deck I think should perform fairly decent at the event because nothing really hampers it. You do not lose against cards like Ash Blossom and this kind of stuff anymore. The opponent doesn't really have kaijus and stuff, and this is a very, very new deck, came out in the newest set, so I really do not understand why this is fully playable. I expect this deck to do extremely well. Correct me if I'm wrong after the first day, but this should be a doozy. And it wouldn't be an Academy event if I wouldn't suggest any deck from the Duel Academy. This one, obviously Jesse Anderson, or whatever it's called in the original dub. This is the Crystal Beast variant. Yes, we do lack consistency with this one because we lost the pot that we already needed, and we already have a problem with consistency in the first place because we do not run the Searcher in the graveyard with the whole Foolish Burial shenanigans. Since Foolish Burial is at 1, it's also not as good as it used to be, so we have to make do with what we have. And this is what I came up with that you probably will be able to be playing. I have done some test hands, and I would say like 7 out of 10 look pretty decent. The other ones are, you lack certain searchers. If you can somehow scramble 3 Crystal Bond, then this would make this deck a lot more playable. And then you just switch out maybe like 1 Crystal Beast Amber Mammoth, and then at least you start with some plays that you can do, and you can grind out your opponent a little bit. And that's where things come in handy, like Crystal Conclave, Crystal Brilliance. I don't think the game mode is going to be as slow as I predict it to be, because there's going to be lots of gaps that fill the whole combo decks, because we don't have Maxi and Ash Blossom and things around. So yeah, watch out. Without Nibiru, this could end really quickly. This is why triple Torrential Tribute might be coming in handy as well. Obviously a very go first kind of deck, and I don't think it's going to be too great, but I had to put one Academy deck in here. And I feel like Crystal Beast, especially after the limiting of Foolish Burial Goods, haven't seen that much love, and for all the people that crafted this deck and don't know what to do with it, this is a cheapish variant to play during that festival, and you will have some fun with it. It's not going to end up too great, but it's not going to end up too bad. You can always fill in some of the bad extra deck slots for good cards, and potentially then you have a blast with this one. Let's go through the list. It is also like the list that I have on my channel a little bit. I had to cut some of the cards, obviously Ash Blossom the pot, and I added some other cards. Let's have a quick one through these ones. If you're not familiar with Crystal Beasts, you won't craft it just for this festival, but if you already have each of those cards, then you might be able to do something with them. For the extra deck, just play some rank 4s. There's nothing really that you want to be playing specifically good in Crystal Beast that isn't like a high rarity card. Chidori comes to mind. Usually you can easily play this because we have wind monsters in here, so there is that. From strength wise, I would say decent, not crazy, not too bad. It should be doing you some good and should be somewhat fun. Let's move on. And the fourth deck is the deck that deserves the title budget deck among all of those. You only need 6 super rares and 2 ultra rares, and out of the 6 super rares you only need, well, 5 of them really. You can decide not to play Trick Clown because Trick Clown isn't detrimental to the deck, but you have searchable discards and is a spellcaster level 4 deck, so I felt like this card very, very nice in the deck, and you might have it from some of the legacy packs, so you might not even need to craft this in the first place. Secondly, you also have a functioning deck afterwards that you can splash into any kind of spellcasterish deck. You also can run more draw engines, you can run different cards, you can play this with generators if you want to, you can play this with some other spellcaster decks like Witchcrafters, like Exosisters. There's lots of things you can play with this, and this one very, very cheap for the festival, very playable for the festival. It tries to do one specific thing. We're trying to go into this one and equip it with 2 or 3 of the extra deck monsters, and from that point onwards hope that that shuts down the opponent's plays for good. You have some grindy cards in here like Lost Wind. You also have some disruptions with the Eyeglass, the Magistus spell Spirit, but other than that, this deck is mainly just in here to do rank 4 plays, to do rank 4 shenanigans, to do the Magistus shenanigans, and it does that pretty well. I've done test hands. You can easily get into this card, especially when your opponent doesn't have all of the disruptions, but it doesn't do much more than this, rather than the variants where you splash in some other cards. And since you can't go into Toad anymore, it's not that good either, and there's some cards that would have made this deck a lot better, but it is what it is. We're stuck with this specific variant. Let's go through the cards. We run all of these ones because they are rank 4 support. They cannot get you into one of your big play starters, this one, but they can help you with certain other variants later on. If you want to go into the synchros and whatnot, it never hurts to have one card in hand that's level 4 and that you can special summon. One Shadow Dragon, mainly in here because I ran out of cheap level 4 spellcasters, and since we can use this card to fusion summon, I thought a pop for some potential annoying back row can be somewhat nice. We have Hat Tricker because this card can be an extender as well. Performate Trick Clown because we have a searchable discard, which is Crowley. This is the next card. Very, very, very neat card in here. We have Zoroa, the Magistus of Flame. This is our tuner monster, so you can easily special summon this out with Viliona, and then from there onwards go into your big fuck off monster because this is very, very strong. We have Rilliona, very, very interesting card because you can add one Magistus spell trap from your deck to your hand. Most of the time you want to go for your fusion or the card that extends. Other than that, there is plenty of different things. I wish this card would summon from hand, but sadly it doesn't. But there's another one that does, so you can always just search that one as well. We have the Endymion that pops something, recycles things. That's why you can easily play it with Generator, because you can pop one of the continuous spells on the field and it can tack cards back into the deck, so this can help you search for other things. And Spell Power Mastery searches this, so you can run this as well. If you feel like you don't have any consistency issues, you can try it with 1 or 2 at the start, or even with none if you want to be really brave and hope you just draw the right cards. Then that works as well, but I feel like this is a consistency boost that you do sadly need in this deck a little bit. One Monster Reborn just to extend plays once again. We have Invocation just to go into the fusion monster. It's not that hard to make. One Magistus monster and one Spellcaster monster. You can cut this down to 1 or 2 if you like, but sometimes it's nice to hard draw this as well. We have one triple Vitra because this card can extend your plays as well. You can also cut this down to 2 if you want to. Plus this card can be, well, it can be some sort of protection because it only is if a Magistus card in your spell trap zone would be destroyed by opponent's card effects. You can banish this. Wish it was any because that would make the boss monster a lot stronger, but at this point it does not. We have Trismegistus, which can summon out any spellcaster from your hand if you want to, any level 4 spellcaster monster. This is why this card works somewhat in the deck and it's searchable, or you can summon any Magistus monster with different names from your hand, so there's also that. And I decided to go for a triple Magistus Theurgy, mainly because this is the playmaker of this deck, so it's quite nice even if you start and end with one of them in hand that you haven't used. It's a quick play, so you can use it during your opponent's turn. If you see what are they up to, then you can still use it and it's still not too bad. And we have triple Lost Wind just to round it off in a kind of grindy deck, and this card can also help you beat over problematic cards that, well, you don't have that many ways of dealing with because your highest attack monster will a lot of the time be 2,900, although if it's equipped with this, it will be at least 3,900, so there's that. This can steal one monster, this can be some battle protection, and also can nuke your opponent's board if you go into it. Then we have some generic rank 4 things. This is a very big playmaker. This can deal with opponent's monsters. One of this, technically you want to be playing 2 at least, but, you know, budget-wise, we do not. And some, well, link cards that can help you, but you can obviously play the good ones. Let's move on to the last deck profile. And last but not least, we have one of my, well, favorite new decks in here. It's a bit different than my 2 deck profiles that I've made with it, but it's kind of like a combination between it. We lack a lot of cards that would make the deck a bit more playable, so I had to improvise a little bit to find a way to make this playable for this festival. And you can already see you do need quite a few ultra rares, but that is what Plunder is. If you already have the Plunder core though, this is fairly playable and you get around playing some of the consistency cards. Not really, but somehow. And you can already see there's a tiny labyrinth engine in here, I want to say. This is mainly so we can Well, discard, we have some discards. We have this card that can come back, so it can block from us sometimes because we have some trap cards that do stuff and we needed to fill in the void of cards that we have. And obviously all of the plunder cards have effects when they're discarded. That's why triple white stingray is also in here, because we run lots of water monsters and this can add another body to the board. We have triple white beard, triple red beard, triple blue beard, triple golden hair, and triple black eyes, because we play them all and we need them all because we have no ways of searching the field spell or searching anything else. We have Raigeki, we have Monster Reborn, Plunder Patrol, Shipyard is a very, very, very interesting card. It's ships shipping, by the way. This card can help you as a discard and technically can also help you go into your fusion, but usually it's mainly in here for the discard for the shipyard, but also for the discard for those two, because you just have to send one card to the graveyard. We have triple emblem of the Plunder Patrol now, because this card can be very, very important for our sake in here. Because we can turn any plunder into our Blackbeard, and that can be very helpful. We have Shipyard, because this card can search us anything, so that's very nice. Enemy Controller, just to trigger the effects of these cards when they're sent to the graveyard. Forbidden Chalice, very nice, going second. It's one of the better going second and going first cards that are still available for us. That is cheap at the moment. One Compulse, just in case we want to get some of these back and have some cards that do stuff on board, so this one works as well. And we have the two Fair Welcome Labyrinths, because we can search them, and when a monster declares an attack while you control a fiend monster, target one card on the field, negate the attack, and if you do, destroy that targeted card. Then you can set one non-labyrinth normal trap from your hand or deck. Very, very nice, because we can set Compulse, we can set Infinite Impermanence, and also it helps us stop an attack and it helps us pop a card on board. So it's not a terrible engine for this deck. Depending on how fast the festival is or not, then we have to maybe make some adjustments when it comes to this, but I felt like this would be maybe a neat inclusion to hopefully get into some stuff that can be helpful, question mark. It is an attempt, and I'm pretty sure you can fairly easily play this deck. Don't think it's going to be the best in this format. I think I've shown off better ones, and Abyss Actor will be the best one, but this one shan't be too terrible. So this is where I would usually say I hope you enjoyed this video, but there will be an extra segment to this one. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll leave this already here, and if you want to, if you dare to check the next deck that isn't part of the actual video, just a little miniature extra that I thought I'd sprinkle in, on you go. If not, then hopefully I'll see you around. And here's something special at the end, a little bonus one, because this one is absolute garbage, but it is somewhat playable, and this is probably the cheapest hero they can get. I've tried it, guys. I really tried to make heroes cheap. It is not possible. This is some sort of go second hero OTK shenanigans with some of the new cards. We have lots of the vanillas for Grand Merge and for the Searcher of Infernal Deviser. We have one Neos in here for specific reasons, a Crosskeeper to get monsters on board from the graveyard mainly, and also get that draw in, Neospatian Grand Mole, because this one added to go second deck, so this can help you sometimes deal with stuff. We have Prisma in here because it can send things to the graveyard, which helps you with Crosskeeper and helps you with certain fusions. We also have Blazeman in here to search Poly. We have one Liquid Soldier because this can get you more monsters on board, and it can be very helpful with the draw 2 and discard 1. Blade Edge because sometimes we have Neos already on board or in the graveyard, so we want to be using this one for the effect of Engage. Then we have Feather Duster because back row can be annoying and we have no way to deal with it besides running over a monster first. Then we have Poly to fusion. We have Miracle Fusion for Elemental Hero Sunrise, so we can go into another card. Unexpected Die, so we have more monsters on board. Skydive Scorcher, this is the card that I wanted to build the deck around, but it's not searchable, and it's just like, it's an okay go second card. You have to target one Elemental Hero Fusion monster you control, which isn't too hard. It's not too hard to get one on board. It doesn't say Fusion Summon, so there's that. And then you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible with attack higher than that monster. Let's look at Mariner. Not too hard to get that one out, for example. So there's that. And then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among those destroyed monsters in the graveyard. So there's that. Technically, there's also Skyscraper effect, but we're not playing Skyscraper. Definitely not going to be playing Skyscraper. We have Engage Neospace because this card can get you a monster on board and search Poly. So that is very, very helpful from time to time. Plus, it can bump up your Neos by 1000 attack, but you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card, so you cannot go into these if you activate this. And then you just have to hope that your opponent doesn't have that much going on. We have instant contact to get a fusion monster out, which works for the Scorcher, for example, but also works to go into wake up your elemental heroes and any kind of other shenanigans. We have enemy controller, a card that can help you OTK once you've already beat through some of your opponent's stuff. It can help you get rid of some of your opponent's stuff. And if you go first, or if you want to use the effect of Grant Merge, switching monsters to defense position isn't terrible, because you do need to run over some monsters for some of the effects, and then this can be helpful as well, question mark. Forbidden Chalice, just to have some sort of go first or go second cards. One form change, because a lot of the time we will be ending up with a level 8 monster on board, like this one, and then we can technically switch into Masked Hero Divine Wind, and that can be decent from time to time. But sadly, this is a level 7, this is level 6, this is level 9, and this is a level 9, and this is a level 10, so this combo doesn't really go off that much, but you can easily go into it, and you can obviously play any other masked heroes as well that are cheap if you want to, but this card's effect is actually fairly decent in the budget deck, and one infinite impermanence just in here to possibly save the deck. Let's go through the fusions. We play everything under the sun because we can cheat them out somehow with the effects of this card or with the effects of Grant Merge, so there is that. We have a Magma Neos in here because this card can clear up all cards on the field back to the hand. This can clear up the whole back row, so that can be very helpful depending on if your opponent plays lots of extra deck monsters or if your opponent plays lots of back row. But if you get to this card is by using the effect of this one, so you won't really get these effects off anyway. And the new card, the Wake Up Your Elemental Hero, it is decent-ish. It can summon a warrior monster from your hand or deck. Ooh. Then we have Wonder Driver to recycle the polymerization. We have this one to get some materials into your hand, which is a bit redundant most of the time because you already need 2 heroes to even make it. And then you can go into extra hero dread decimation as well if you want to. Not a great deck, but I wanted to mention it. It is the Academy Festival, so we will be playing heroes at least one game this whole festival.